Okay, I'm recording another one because oh hey, hello, how are y'all? I'm recording another one because I've done a couple like the algorithm, spirituality things, and pardon me, I was not intending on filming, and I just had some of that wonderful polar seltzer water that I can afford. And I mean, there's a lot of, anyways, don't want to get into nuance of seltzer waters, but yeah, that whole algorithm spirituality thing is fascinating because I got done recording one about Elon Musk and just kind of, well, it ended up getting to that point. Like, I don't rehearse any of this stuff. This is all, but right after I shut it off, like, this is, January 12th at 5:33. And so it's funny. So I finished doing that, and then I pull up the Sacred Knowledge Tarot for my sign, and enjoy that. And it resonates. It always resonates. Like, sometimes very specifically, especially with the cat card. And then in between doing something right after, no, take that back. Jumped off of that filming and first fired up to a live Carpo talk, and it was right when he was talking about spirituality and got on a tangent of spirituality and psychedelics and the journey with Carl Jung, Alan Watts, and how everybody wants to have this oversimplified language for spirituality for Westerners because we just lack the verbs or the verbiage. We don't have adequate enough language to meld it together, and not a lot of us can actually just like step back and just see and know through experience and just understanding. And anyway, so I watched that, and like I myself, I'm a retired psychonaut, because like you get to a point where you understand, and you understand it's a sacrament, and you don't mess with it unless you like are in specific situations. Like I've touched on it with mental health issues like PTSD, and enhancing neuroplasticity, but only touched on it. I've done a lot of research, and it's funny, like, because there's that whole journey starts in a very dark chapter of my life. Like, it's the first 25 years is very fascinating anyways, but getting off track, go off there, and then right after that, it's like I've been not watching it all day because I enjoy watching those things after the day has kind of transpired a bit, because anything with astrology and tarot, I don't want to know going into it. I like knowing after the fact. I like seeing like how good was my perception throughout the day. What in this goes like ding, 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 ding as more of a reassurance. And yeah, and to touch on that stuff, like, the wisest people on this planet for thousands of years practiced it, and they didn't have nearly as much distraction as we have. They had no light pollution. They had no nothing. And I mean, everything that I'm gaining now by watching like solar weather, volcanic weather, earthquake weather, wind patterns, and how they all intertwine. And I mean, just knowing how the gravitational pull of planets, just celestial bodies such as the moon affects tides, that's just an undeniable fact. And I mean, we're water beings, and, knowing about computers and stuff, we're also electrical circuits made out of water. You have gravitational pulls and how that's, during the development of that motherboard that we have between our ears, you telling me there's not something there? Nah. But it's, what resonates, take it with a grain of salt to a certain degree. And definitely, research more scientific stuff, but I'm going to try not to cite any other people other than the three that I normally cite. And the dragon one, and she's just rad. I like her. She kind of just sparked this one talking on the algorithm stuff about a month or so ago. So I always tag her on it. Yeah. And then the whole reading was, facing your past, facing the shadow stuff, doing the shadow work within this wolf moon energy, which is fun because I'm actually wearing my favorite shirt. And you know what? This is fun because this is what my girlfriend Janine got me. The 1 week we didn't spend together in the 5 years that we were together, except for the night that she passed away. And that's a story that I don't really want to put out there, but I have to put out there. I've put out there recently, unexpectedly, and I'll touch on it at a later date. But this is from 2003, back when I was in a very dark place in my life. And I have this channel to express the creativity, and I can reflect on everything that I've gone through. So at Sacred Neural Tarot, you ask always how the people that follow you are doing with these readings. Yeah, tune in. You'll see. And then right after ending that one, at 4:44 of all times, Conversations with Jay. Boom. And it was another one of those where it's just reaffirming. She is a delightful conversationalist. Just listening to her talk, so bubbly and fun. I'm not even painting. Oh my goodness. Oh, the knee. Slow down. All right. Oh. Oops, did I turn it off? No. So yeah. Spirituality. And you know what? One of the other things from my childhood that I've always loved, in fact, according to my parents, my first word was guitar. And their terminology, or the way they said it, followed by on, off. And I always interpreted that as I was going to end up being an easily amused musician. And yeah, I've always had one around me. And this is my beauty one. It's kind of the one that I'm not going to ever give up. Anyway, this is not a music time. This is painting and reflecting on how all of that whole spirituality thing plays in, and just my overall perspective of it currently. Because you don't want to set a belief system. That's the one thing I've learned. And like Carpo touched on, it's about seeking the knowledge. It's about trying to understand, coming up with what resonates with you and what you've actually experienced in this life, and having faith in yourself. having faith in yourself. And the way that I've always approached it is like, you know what? If somebody else has been able to do it, I can do it too. I can totally do it too. What's stopping me from doing it too? And that's where you have to sit back and analyze. It's like, can I do it? Is it appropriate for me to do it? How is my life playing out? Like, should I do this stuff? I don't know. I mean, it's where like coming into like figuring out how to handle the hand that you've been dealt. Oof. Pardon me. And I don't know what to do at the moment. I just wanted to knock that one out there because it's just like, oh, really? 4:44? Right after all that? And it's like, as I'm writing, so it's like, And yeah, so I will be touching on my experience growing up as a child of somebody whose main occupation was growing cannabis. And the hilarity and stories that I can recall of my parents, because they have both passed on. I didn't touch on it in that previous video, but like during the pandemic, my dad also passed away. I mean, by that time, my ability to deal with grief is like a bulletproof vest. You know, you breathe through it. This too shall pass. You know, everything does actually happen for a reason, and it's meant to test you to some degree. It's just, we're never meant to know where that breaking point is until it actually happens. And then hopefully we're back doing something else. But nah, as long as you're still ticking. And that's my overall message on it. And as far as like the spiritual part, like I got on a tangent. Sorry. Specifically with angel numbers, like the repeating numbers, the repeating patterns, like the 444 things. Or like 111, whatever. I shouldn't be so dismissive. Because the more I allow myself to see it. Oh, boo. Okay. Cool. Yeah. The more it does like kind of guide you, and it's more of a reassurance. So like one thing, you can't be always looking for it. If you're looking for it, it goes away. It's like what I mentioned on the ASMR with cats thing. It's like cats. It's like, nah, the more you try to force things, the more it's not. The more it's actually counterintuitive. But the more it hinders you. So you don't want to like go full spiritual new age. You know? Tropic Thunder fans. Had to let that scene play out in my head. Anyway. The point I was getting at is, what was I getting at? Oh no, I got distracted. Too distracted. If you allow yourself to be like ruled by trying to see and seek out in that way, like actual physical manifestations of spirituality, like in your everyday, like I am always looking at numbers. No. It doesn't work like that at all. In fact, like if you're doing that, especially if like you haven't dealt with your shadow work, you haven't done the shadow work, like that, you're putting like a expectation, and just have hope. hope, loyalty, perseverance, and being able to recognize that it's still. And then as far as like seeing those numbers and seeing those signs, like recently I've noticed that like when I'm going to go do something, if I'm going to go meet somebody new, if I like pull up to a light, like the last person I went and like met, like I pulled up to a light and it was just like 444 and 666 like right next to each other. I was like, really? I think this is going to be a good day. And it was. Like, she's awesome. I mean, I'm definitely a better human being for going through that experience and not letting the anxiety get to me. Because that was definitely a turning point. As far as, like, my comfort zone and getting out of it. Now, again, don't actively look for those things. The other day, I pulled up next to a car and it was like, ding, and I was like debating on where I was going, and I was just thinking like, I know where I want to go, but I think I need to go there. And as I pulled up, it was like a big old semi-truck, 333, and it was like, okay. And I went there, and it was fun because synchronistically what I was hoping would happen that first day ended up unfolding in such a perfect way the next day. Like, granted, outcome was not what I had hoped, but it was perfect. Like, just, it was too synchronistic to ignore. Like, you can't ignore that stuff. It's awesome. And that was one of those times where it's like, I already kind of knew the outcome. Or is actually